this was sort of an average day. Some were up and some were down. It's kind of mixed, no particular pattern. But now, take a look at this one. See anything interesting here? It was a bad day. That's your first observation. Wow, that was a really bad day. But, see anything catch your attention?
Consumer staples is the only one that has green.
Green, yeah.
Say that louder.
The consumer staples is the only one that has green.
There's that little green dot over there. Okay? And is that an anomaly, an outlier, an error? Okay, so I click on that, and that day it was the A&P Trading Company, which that day had bought the Pathmark chain of grocery stores. It was up 6%. When it's not just a little green, it's bright green. It was up 6% when everybody else was down. Okay? So that's kind of the thing I love to show. This example is my favorite slide in the series here, because it tells a story that information visualization gives you answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Okay? Once you train your mind and your eye to begin looking for these color patterns, and you know what you're after, wow, you see those things standing out. Okay, let's look for a little more subtle pattern. Well, that was a little better day, a few good stuff. But this one's a little more subtle. You sort of have to get used to it, but I hope, since you can see, most of the technology sector is green, most of the energy is green, but most of the financial is red, and most of the healthcare is red with one exception. Okay? So that's a more common pattern. At certain industries, there was good news for something in the medical sector, or the Obamacare is good news or bad news, or the financial industry had a bad day or a good day, and so you can see those patterns in these structures with a glance. Instead of looking at 30 rows of a spreadsheet, you get to see 600 at once. Okay? How about those like good news? That's a happier day. But you can see another interesting pattern that I've come to know through spatial stability. All that red stuff over there, or black at least, those are the gold stocks. And they trade the opposite of the market. When the stock market's happy, the gold stock holders are unhappy and they go down. Okay? So those are other patterns you begin to see in your data. And so for me, it was great satisfaction that the tree map got picked up, and this is widely used. Millions of people use this on a regular basis. I guess we got some others. And then lots of people did other things. So this is called the Newsnet. A 26-year-old, Argentinian programmer built this. And the red stories, this is last night, I grabbed this. The red stories are the international news, and then we have international, national news, business news is green, sports is blue, a lot of sports news on the weekend, so there's lots of stories. The area indicates the number of stories in the Google News aggregator. And if you click on it, North Korea to retry long-range rocket launch. If you click on it, it'll give you a short heading, and then, I guess if you hover, excuse me, and it tells me there are 648 articles on this topic out on the web. And if you click, it'll give you the most commonly referred to one, which is by CBS News. So you might want to try this again, free out there on the web. And it has 20 different countries, so you can compare how news stories playing out, which stories are important in France and Germany and Australia and Canada and so on. And you get a good idea of what's going on. So it's this kind of overview again that shows you everything, and then certain things stand out. And this is the biggest news of the day, was after the UN vote to give the Palestinians a greater role in the UN. Prime Minister Netanyahu authorized the building of a new settlement, so that, and at the same time, rebels in Syria tightened grip on main airport, and so on and so forth. Okay. Here's the one I mentioned, and maybe for Fred's medical friends, but I thought many of you would be interested in this one. This is 6,300 patients. These are the ones who were discharged, all the ones over here. It's again hard for you to read the label, but discharged here. Admitted are all of those over here. You can see most of them were discharged, only a fraction were admitted. And then within the admitted, we have the female and the male. So you can see a lot more females arrive in this emergency room than males. But the ratio looks a little bit closer in terms of admitted. I've set the color coding. This is our tree map tool. Again, free to download and nice little video instructions on there. You can try this yourself. And so I set the color coding. Under 16-year-old, I made them black, and then a green up to an orange for this up to 65, and then red over 65. So this is Washington Hospital Center in Washington. It's across the street from Children's Hospital. So children under 16 are supposed to be taken to Children's Hospital. But sometimes whole families come in together, or there's a car accident, they're brought in, and you can see pretty easily that there are a few black dots in here, and there are a few black dots in here, but none of those female young under 16-year-olds were admitted, and only 2 males were admitted under 16. See it? Black dots?
Yep.
With me?
Mhm.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. So then I might want to say, well, what's going on here? The area is codes by the number of hours they spent in the emergency room. And if I just filter out the ones who were less than 12 hours, these people stayed more than 12 hours in the emergency room. I want to know what's going on. And so I can look at those, and of those who spent more than 12 hours and then they were admitted, a lot of them are abdominal pain. You may have to agree. Chest pain is CP, CP, CP. A lot of the chest pain people are kept in there for a while for observation. Okay? And so this is a short way of being able to look at a lot of data and then run these filters. So I can filter by age group, by the wait time. You can see here I've moved my slider so it gets 12 hours or more. Okay? Let me show you some other examples. Actually, let me do this nutritional one, and I think I have this one live as well. Let's go get this. Sorry about that. Where are my Lifelines demo? Let me close that. News map. Oh, there's the active news map. This is this morning's news map. Terry has found his place in Boston. Who's Terry? That's sports. Sports is the big news today. Okay. Rapid understanding. Why am I there? I'm sorry. Let me get out of here and go to, I shouldn't be there, I should be here. And let's go to this. Okay, this is 1,400 food products from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Size indicates the number of calories, and the color represents the protein content. Red being low protein, green being high. Grouped by, I don't know if you can read this, I'll read to you, fats, oils, and salad dressing, meat and poultry, legumes, nuts and seeds, grain products, vegetables. I think I should get that up there. And this is vegetables, eggs, milk products, sugars, sweeteners, and fruits. Okay, so if we take a look at the fats, oils, dressing, this was kind of fun. You can see something interesting here, one green dot. And if you want to have a salad dressing that still gives you a lot of protein, here's your choice. Pesto sauce. A lot of protein in this for some reason. Okay? It stands out. Meat and poultry are high in protein, except fat back cooked. All right? Not good for you. Salt pork cooked. Don't eat that if you want protein. Okay? And so you could also change this so the color might represent total fat. Then we can see the fat content. And all these are lots of fat, but there's a low-fat, butter replacement, fat-free powder. Okay? You see how these things stand out so easily? If you're interested in other things, well, the protein here, you could size by the iron. If you're interested in a lot of iron, then you ought to have this protein supplement. It has lots of iron, 44 milligrams. Protein diet powder, there we go. If you want vegetables with lots of iron, eat potato skins. Wow, that's news. Did you know that? I didn't know that. And if you want, in the egg category, shrimp egg patty. What do you know? Fruits with a lot of protein. Peach, dried and uncooked. A lot of protein. And currants, dried fruit, apricots, dried, what do you know? All right. So all those dried fruit things have a lot of, they're high in iron, and some of them, here's a high protein. Got it? Free to use, and this is, if you want to just filter out on protein, let's go for the high protein ones. You can move the slider, or if you want low calories, just go for the low calorie things. We can filter down and get them. Okay. We call these dynamic query sliders, and I'm pleased that a growing number of places that these things are being used. You may have seen them at airline and other things, but that came from our work as well. Okay, questions about this? I am a consultant for the Hive Group. I should let you know. A group of Stanford graduate students contacted me, and they formed this company. It's now 8 years ago, and I said I'd help them, so I've been helping them. Okay. Tree maps have found their way into Spotfire and lots of other tools, and the New York Times. I should celebrate if you do look at the New York Times website or in the paper. They are terrific in doing these graphics and also interactive versions of these. This was the first time they did a tree map in 2007. It shows the automobile and truck industry, domestic and foreign, and shows you which things are doing well, which things are declining in their use. It was a very ambitious one, and they did use our software to start, but then they imported to Adobe Illustrator to make the final version for the newspaper. So, as I was saying to Fred during the break, that our tools are pretty good in allowing you to explore data and find interesting insights, but you may want to use other tools like, good Illustrator tools to make a final version. Okay. New York Times also picked up on the work of a German researcher, Michael Bolzer. He published this idea of what's called Voronoi tree maps, and they did it to show the consumer price index. It's this very nice circular kind of, looks like a cell structure or leaf, and each area shows you which areas are the most impact on consumer price index. I might be critical of this in that, although it looks cool, actually it's pretty hard to compare the sizes of these regions and see the patterns as well as in the rectangular version. But the New York Times keeps producing all kinds of great things, and if you want scalability, there's a million node tree map. I could talk for an hour about the discoveries we made out of this one, but we're not going to do that. But just to show you, for those who want to do a lot, that's it. So the last topic is networks, and it's maybe most well represented by a nice website by a young guy named Manuel Lima, where he has 772 projects of people who show network of visualizations. And he's got a new book out in the past year, actually a beautiful book and really nice looking. Not as helpful as Nathan Yau's. I mean, his book shows great examples of network visualization, but it doesn't quite tell you how to do it. You have to sort of dig deeper than that. There's a lot of these out there now, lots of very hot topic, and I'm going to show you some of our work. This is the PhD work of Adam Perrer. This was a terror network, but I'm going to show you this 1-minute video. I'm sorry I didn't load this up, but let me go get it. This is Washington, D.C., and this is Senate voting pattern. There we go. And it's a great story. We were approached by a journalist named Chris Wilson, who wanted to look at the patterns of voting in the U.S. Senate. And so he did have the data, which is easily available in Washington. Let me stop here and explain to you what we've got. You've got 100 senators, the red Republicans and the blue Democrats. Okay? And every senator has a line connecting it to all the other 99 senators. About 5,000 lines there. The thickness of each line is determined by the number of times those two senators voted the same way. The same way. Okay? In 2007, there were 330 roll call votes, and the most similar two senators, amazingly enough, are hope you can see that, Hart and Mikulski, the two senators from Maryland. And they voted the same way 303 times out of 330 votes. Okay? And then it goes down 301, all the way down to those who voted together less than 50 times. Okay? There's some votes that everybody agrees, National Turkey Day or something like that, everybody agrees. Okay? So we put this into our software called Social Action, and we start filtering out. We get rid of those with 100, 110, 120, 130, 140 similarity. We get a low similarity out there. John McCain, out running for president, didn't vote enough times to be similar to anybody. Okay, so he breaks off, and then you get to see this pattern emerging. You also see splitting off Brownback, also running for president, spins off the side, and you get this unbelievable, remarkable, too good to be true visualization. And stop it in a second here. Okay. All right. Now what do you see here? Wow. Thank you. That's the right answer. Wow. We didn't believe this either. But the red Republicans and the blue Democrats are really separated out. And this is by a layout algorithm that's called force directed. That pushes them, the similar ones stay together, the ones that are very different get pushed apart. The two independents, Lieberman and Saunders, as you can see, vote very Democratic. Okay? In the middle, Olympia Snowe, Harlan Specter, Susan Collins. This is 2007. And they are often ready to vote with the Democrats. So that shows you that pattern. The remarkable thing was February 2009, 2 years later, when the Obama stimulus bill was put before the Senate, who were the three Republicans who voted with the Democrats? Snowe, Specter, and Collins. It's really a great story, but rare that you have a story where it's predictive in its pattern. But this one certainly told you that story. Okay? Furthermore, as you begin to examine, far from the Republican side are the so-called liberal Democrats, Dodd of Connecticut, since retired, Joe Biden, Kerry, and Obama. At that point, he was quite far from, being centrist. He then changed his voting patterns to be much more centrist, and as a candidate became, so much centrist that the liberal side of the Democratic Party was angry at him. Okay? But you can see those, and then you have the extreme Republicans like Tom Coburn of Oklahoma. Very extreme, very different from the most of the central Republicans, and far from the Republicans who might work with the Democrats. Okay? Let me go a little further. You with me on this? I think this was, and just to make it sweet, the red Republicans came out on the right, the Democrats on the left. That was totally coincidental. So we go a little further, and we're going to go back to filtering out the 190, 200, 210, 220 similarities, 230, 240, 250, and now we get to see that in 2007, Republican Party cohesion or loyalty has gone. Whereas the Democrats are still pretty well, they have their act together, although some of the more liberal members and some of the more willing to go off with Republicans have separated from the core bunch. A closer study of this showed that there's a group of Midwest Democratic senators that do caucus together and they do vote together on a regular basis. Okay? So this is just really a nice piece of work, and the ideas in social action have been picked up by others and put to work in a variety of tools. And I'm going to show you our work, again, free to download. This is a nice story called Node Excel. If you have any network analysis that you might want to do, if you're studying relationships among patients, for example, and what diseases they have, cohorts of patients who have similar symptoms, what can we say about those similar patients? Okay? So It works inside Excel. Everybody in this room seems to have some familiarity with Excel. And I went in, I did this. Ann invites Bob to a party. Bob invites Carol. Carol invites Dave. Ann invites Carol. And then instead of saying, draw me a bar chart, I say, draw me a graph. And I get this graph. It's a directed graph. And then I say, okay, make the color pink for the girls and blue for the boys, and then draw the arrows and put the labels on. So you get this rich control panel of all the features you can set, and believe me, with networks, there's a lot to set. So if I do the Senate voting pattern, it goes right into the spreadsheet, and you can see this is the commonality of voting, and I get that. It's a little different. This way it lays out again, the reds here, but Spencer, Collins, and Snow are right in the middle again, and you get to see the Democrats and the two independents are yellow in this display. But you can set all those colors and, inside Node Excel. So Node Excel is a template that runs inside Excel. I have to say it does run only on PCs, not on the Mac versions. It's really a great painful story to us. But we've had 150,000 downloads of this. And, oh, where's the book? Wave the book. We do have a book that tells you the story. It's about $29 or at Amazon, so you can get that there. But the first 3 chapters give you an introduction to the idea of network analysis. Then there's 4 chapters that are step-by-step, walk you through how to do exactly what I just did. There's Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, or whatever it is. These are the, here we are. These are the figures of how I got the ones that I showed there. So it walks you through the whole thing. So I'll pass that one around for people to see. But, the book is, we tried to get the price low. It is $45, but at Amazon it's like $29.